My brother, I've been thinking about something. We've talked about this. Let's give the people more. Oh, they're gonna f it up.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here today once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. Exclusively here, as always, on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we're going to wrap up this week of Dwayne Johnson films with the disaster pick San Andreas, starring Dwayne Johnson, Carla Gugino, Alexandra Daddario, Ioan Gruffudd, Paul Giamatti, Hugo Johnson Burt, and Art Parkinson. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And like I said during the introduction, today we're going to wrap up this week of Dwayne Johnson films, and we're going to talk about the disaster flick San Andreas. Now, as our movie opens, we meet Caltech seismologist Dr. Lawrence Hayes and his colleague Dr. Kim Park, who are currently at the Hoover Dam in order to test some new earthquake prediction equipment, when all of a sudden a nearby and previously unknown fault ruptures, triggering a 9.1 earthquake that collapses the Hoover Dam. Dr. Park ends up sacrificing himself in order to save a young girl. And a little while later, Dr. Hayes discovers that the entire San Andreas fault is shifting and will soon cause an entire series of major earthquakes, potentially destroying cities along the fault lines. Dr. Hayes then begins to race to warn the population of California, along with the assistance of his students, Alexei and Phoebe, as well as news reporter Serena Johnson. When a 9.1 magnitude earthquake devastates Los Angeles and San Francisco, Ray Gaines, a Los Angeles Fire Department helicopter rescue pilot who is currently going through a divorce from his wife, Emma, finds himself rescuing her from a Los Angeles skyscraper. Meanwhile, their daughter Blake is currently in San Francisco with Emma's new boyfriend Daniel when an earthquake strikes the city. Rubble and debris from the collapsing parking garage pins her inside of Daniel's car, and in a fit of panic, Daniel abandons Blake in a complete act of cowardice, while Ben Taylor, a British engineer who is seeking employment from Daniel's firm, as well as his younger brother Ollie, proceed to do everything that they can to rescue Blake. And then the trio begin to head to Chinatown, where they're successfully able to contact Blake's parents for help. Ray and Emma then attempt to reach San Francisco in Ray's helicopter until it ends up suffering a gearbox failure, forcing them to make an emergency landing at a shopping mall in Bakersfield. Now, amid the chaos of the looting, Ray is able to steal a truck in order for them to continue their journey. The pair end up encountering a couple that have broken down on the side of the road shortly before the San Andreas Fault, which has torn a large fissure through the highway and extends for the perceivable length of the fault in either direction. Ray and Emma then exchange their truck for an airplane that the couple owns. Now, Blake, Ben, and Ollie attempt to reach Coit Taver in order to meet up with Blake's parents, but after finding it engulfed in flames, they decide to try and reach Nob Hill instead. Ray and Emma are forced to parachute into AT&T Park just before a 9.6 magnitude quake hits, becoming the largest recorded earthquake in history. As the quake subsides, having destroyed much of the city, Ray and Emma commandeer a boat in order to reach the group, only to realize that a tsunami is approaching the San Francisco Bay. Alongside a handful of other survivors in small boats, the two manage to cross the wave before it crests, barely avoiding a container ship that is caught up in the wave. The ship bisects the Golden Gate Bridge center span completely in half, killing everyone on the bridge, including Daniel, who is crushed to death by a falling shipping container. The tsunami proceeds to strike the ruined city, capsizing a cruise ship in the process and killing thousands more. Blake, Ben, and Ollie then enter the gate, which is a building whose construction Daniel had been overseeing, but are still caught by the wave. As the building begins to collapse, trapping Blake underwater, Ray dives in, rescues her, and begins to perform CPR. Emma crashes the boat through a window and drives the five of them out of the collapsing building as Ray continues to resuscitate Blake. As our movie closes, the survivors begin to regroup at a relief camp on the other side of the bay, where the reconciled Ray and Emma begin to discuss their future. On the remains of the Golden Gate Bridge, an American flag unfolds, giving hope that the city will recover and rebuild. As rescue vehicles descend on the radically altered landscape of the San Francisco Bay Area, which is now extended from San Jose to Santa Cruz, turning the San Francisco Peninsula into an island. Now, as far as disaster flicks go, I was thoroughly entertained by this story. You know, I came up in a time in movie history where things like Armageddon, Twister, Deep Impact were kind of the norm. Back before my time, and even before I was born, when I was a young child, there were things like the Poseidon Adventure. So I've come up in this era of disaster flicks, the movie Earthquake. I was really entertained by San Andreas. A lot of it had to do with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. I'm not going to lie. I mean, granted, Ioan Gruffudd, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. I apologize if I am. Last I really saw him, he was Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie. Back in the mid 2000s, the ones that had Jessica Alba as Sue Storm and our captain, Chris Evans as, the Human Torch. He was Reed Richards in those. To see him play a bit of a dick, not gonna lie, kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Likewise, Jeff and I are always talking about Paul Giamatti and how he ends up playing a dick in quite a few roles. So when you can find him playing a decent enough character, one that isn't an asshole, it's very, very welcoming. And in this movie, that's exactly what we got. He was not an asshole. So it was very much a enjoyable circumstance when it came to him. But yeah, it's one of those things that you see these movies and these characters, and you end up getting sucked in based off of what you know of the person involved. And Dwayne Johnson has always been a very charismatic performer. So even though here's this insane disaster flick where people are running for their lives in terror from these 7.8.9.6 earthquakes, a simple smile, that twinkle he gets in his eye, and you know everything's going to be all right because he's there to save the day. I think that did huge for this movie. It made things just jump up big time. Whereas if it had been some other leading man in the role, I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much. I'm curious to know what you guys thought, though, of San Andreas. Let me know. When it comes to my rating for this one, much like yesterday, I'm going to go the same route. This is my first time seeing it, so I'm not going to rate it a 4, 4.5, but I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Snitch and some of the others. So I'm going to give San Andreas 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was really solid. I thought the action was good. The story was good. The cinematography, the special effects. I thought everything worked perfectly to turn the stew into a very, very edible and digestive, offering. It was very, very easy to process. I enjoyed it. Again, what did you guys think of San Andreas? If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation. Let's discuss this in the comments. Tomorrow. Yes, I said tomorrow. Yes, I mean tomorrow. Make sure you join me for a very special edition of Renegades Reviews when we will be covering Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. No, it's not a Dwayne Johnson movie. No, it doesn't fit in with our theme for the month. But I'm trying to give you guys new release movies as I see them so that they don't just stack up and have to wait for some special theme month. Theaters are back open. They're doing good business. My girlfriend and I enjoy going and seeing movies when we have the time together. So, tomorrow you will get my review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now then, be forewarned. Spoilers will be abound during my review. I'm going to be, you know how I do with my synopsises. I go off of what's on Wiki. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, at the very least, read what's on Wiki. What I'm going to be talking about is there. However, when I get into my post synopsis discussion, I will be getting more in depth into stuff. So if you do not want to have your viewing experience of Doctor Strange ruined, do not watch tomorrow's review until you have seen it. However, I do want to point out that that is part of why it is airing tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 21st of May. This film has been out for a full 2 weeks. I didn't give it to you opening weekend. I didn't even give it to you the following weekend, Friday the 13th weekend. I gave a full 2 weeks before discussing it and putting it on the channel so that you had time to go and see this film in theaters. One would safely assume that if you were going to go see this, you've seen it in its first 2 weeks. So, that being said, I'm going to say it again right now. I will mention it tomorrow at the top of the show. Spoiler alert is in effect for my review of Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in then to join me. It should be a very entertaining review. Thank you all for joining me today. Thank you all for showing your love and support. Like, share with family, share with friends. Put it out there in the world, share with other movie lovers, cinephiles. Get the word out there about the show. Like it so it'll get boosted up in the YouTube algorithms. Get me some more exposure. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in and watching. I will see you guys next time.